Understand. We don't know the full details of this situation, but riot police are equipped with what are called flashbangs. They create light and sound to disorient people in a protest or riot situation like this. Renee just reported to us that there is some throwing of rocks. There's some dispensing of pepper spray or something like it. We have Brian Todd, who is nearby. Brian, can you hear us? Let's see if we can hear you.
Chris, I can hear you. This is a very, very large crowd, not far from where Renee was. More peaceful here. They're marching toward McPherson Square. Several thousand here. We have had a lot of unrest in the city, not far from where we're standing. Aside from what Renee said, there was severe damage to some buildings, some businesses. The windows of a Starbucks not far from here just got obliterated not too long ago. There have been numerous arrests on the streets of Washington. Right now, we are about a block and a half away from the White House, entering McPherson Square. Huge crowd here, and they're planning to go into the square here and protest. So we're going to see how the police respond to this. But again, we've had some unrest. We've had some police injuries earlier. At least 2 police officers were injured, and numerous arrests have been made. Chris?
Yeah. Okay, Brian, thank you for all of that. We're watching it in a split screen right now. Look, it's a very emotional day here in Washington, D.C. We've seen it, Chris, since you and I arrived on the scene at 4 in the morning. People are very excited for the promise of this new president, and other people have come here from across the country angry with their signs. And when they clash, you can see this is happening. Well, Renee Marsh is there in the middle of it. She joins us again. Renee, tell us what you're saying.
All right, well, I can tell you that it is very unsettling in the sense that people are moving in multiple directions. What we had is a situation of people throwing bottles and rocks at police officers. It came to a point where they were face-to-face in the middle of this intersection of K and Salt Street, and that's when riot police moved in. They started deploying pepper spray. But despite that, people continued to throw literally large chunks of rock at police officers, and of course that set off what was already a large crowd, just people frantically running in multiple directions. Where I'm standing right now, what I'm seeing is the same images that you're seeing, which is riot police in the center of this intersection, and individuals, despite them deploying the pepper spray, continue to throw chunks of concrete at these officers, bottles at these officers. I bumped into one man who had a bloody nose. He had a bloody nose. He said that he tried to stop an individual from throwing objects at police, and that's when an individual punched him in the face. So clearly, emotions are extremely high at this point, and we are seeing...
Renee, monitor the situation for us. Monitor the situation for us. There are a lot of different pockets of activity. This is a nook and cranny city, D.C., so it's very hard for them to create a perimeter. What we saw with the riot police, and we're seeing continue now, is what they call a fall line. This is an area that they don't want the protesters to go beyond. We saw the protesters were using some newspaper distribution cans, and they were laying them out as their own line. Now what you're seeing with this phalanx of police is this is the hold line. This is where they want the protesters to stay. There's no direct engagement with the protesters. In between the 2 groups, there's a line of media. That's a precarious place to be in. A lot of those camera photojournalists are there. We'll stay on monitoring this situation, but as long as it stays like this, we won't dwell on it too long until there's something to report.
And that's the point. We don't want this to eclipse the excitement of all of the people who have come here for Mr.